So, hi everybody. I thought I'd take this opportunity as I'm ending one job and about to start another to look back at some of the projects we've done in Central St Martin's when we've been working with professional practice. So as part of the students' learning outcomes, we want them to be able to work in the real world with clients. We want to provide our students with real-world experience of, liaising with people, meeting deadlines. We're really careful, though, about the clients that we pick, because we actually get all the time, I get emails saying, will you do animations for nothing for my huge corporation that could pay lots of money? And so we're not just cheap labor. We have to get something out of it of real educational value for our students when we're doing projects. The brief needs to have challenge, it needs to have inspiration, and it needs to have a space for the student to make their own creative contribution. There's also the issue of timescale. So in education, we work with really long planning periods. So we're planning our curriculum a year, perhaps more in advance. So we can't respond to short-term requests from industry, I'd like an animation next week. We have to plan it really far in advance. So to get around all these challenges, what we've been doing is working with what we might call soft clients. So we've been working with the heritage sector. We've been working with museums, archives, and cultural organizations. So this all started in 2006 when we started working on the transcriptions project with the National Gallery. Working with Lee Riley, who was the education officer at the time, we produced around 180 animations for the gallery for their website. And they interpreted paintings from the collection and demonstrated their relevance to non-traditional audiences who might not normally go and see paintings in their National Gallery. Students were enriched by the experience. It had enormous educational benefit. The students analysed the paintings through workshops in terms of context, composition, use of colour, and physical gesture. We also had drawing and physical theatre workshops going along with the interpretation of the paintings. And the paintings on display, there's such an amazing range of them in the National Gallery that they stimulated ideas for character designs, for stories, for poses, for visual compositions and themes. Now, I'm going to show you a piece of a film. I'm just going to skip forward to Daisy, this is from Daisy Jacobs. You might recognize her name because she was shortlisted for an Oscar for animation last year. So I'll just show you the film that she made for the National Gallery while she was studying with us.
I'm Don Justino de Neve. I'm beautiful, and I'm not a nice man. I'm not Mills and Boon. I'm Bond. Love me and die. I'm the villain of the piece. Alan Rickman, Lee Van Cleef. I'm the wolf in Grandma's bed, red in tooth and claw. I ravished Clarissa, ruined Tess. I'm a fairy tale prince of darkness. I'll love you and leave you, delight and deceive you. I'm filthy and gorgeous, cruel and mean, irresistible to women with low self-esteem. I'm Cain in the Bible, and in Elfie, strong and virile, fit and healthy, festering, broken, corrupt, and evil inside. Weevils crawl behind my eyes. But my eyebrows speak for themselves. I have lashes too long for a man. You know who I am. I'm Don Justino de Neve. I'm not a nice man.
So I'll just move on to the next one, which is by another of our very successful alumni, Phoebe Boswell, who's recently had a touring exhibition with the Hayward Gallery. And I'll fast forward to miss the beginning. Again, another film for the National Gallery.
Stale cologne, sweat and smoke on cheap crimson velour. Pot-bellied foul men drink on the bottom floor. They say petal and flower and stroke us in our beds and then run home to kiss the tops of their wives' heads. And I sit in my room, she detangles my hair to prepare for the next waiting in his underwear. Where am I? What is this? It must all be in my head. I was young once and pure, and my mother, she said all stories on earth exist in your scribbled hair. If you comb out the tangles, you can be anywhere. And she placed me on her lap, and she started to comb, and it hurt, but she said, with one stroke you're in Rome, with another you're dancing with a prince by a lake, or dining with flamingos eating sunflower cake, or skipping on tightropes and stilettos of gold. You can run fast with leopards and never get old, if you do as you're told and always comb your hair. And I've combed, and I've combed, and I've combed ever since, but I've only met toads and not once a prince. I've not seen a flamingo. Sunflowers never bloom. I did see a rope, though, hung in another girl's room. And I am getting old, and I can't help but worry that my mother was wrong. And then I think, sorry, no, it can't be. I need to believe that this hell that I'm in is just a story retrieved from a tangle straightened by a stroke of the comb. So tomorrow, with another, I just might wake up in Rome.
So as well as working with collections of paintings, we've also worked with other sorts of artifacts. We've worked on oral history collections, for example, with the National Theatre Archive, London Transport Museum and the British Library. Some collections of spoken word recordings may not get very well used, so we've looked at making animations to bring them to life. We've also worked with graphic design and printed ephemera, so we've worked a lot with British Post Office Archive as well as the London Transport Museum's fantastic collection of graphic design with their posters. It really is amazing. It's a fantastic resource to go to their archives and see the posters they've got. They've got a great website as well. And here's a little snippet from a project we did to bring posters to life. We've also used animation as a tool for community engagement, working on workshops with non-traditional audiences. We've worked with the V&A, we've also worked with the BFI, the Drawing Room Gallery, and the Royal Albert Hall to try and engage people who wouldn't normally be involved with museums, archives, cultural organizations through the process of making animation. We also, during the Cultural Olympiad, worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company, looking at interpreting plays in their repertoire through animation. And we looked at the Tempest and the Twelfth Night, and this particular film responds to the idea of gender dysmorphia in the Twelfth Night and uses a traditional Chinese poem with a similar theme to mix together cultures to respond to Shakespeare. At the moment, we've been working with the English National Opera, so we're creating short animations inspired by plays which are forthcoming in their repertory, so they can put them on their website and use them as publicity for their season. Here's one that a student made for La Traviata.
Everything that I long for, fancy simple constancy, when I was sick with fever, I feel a strange new shiver, can it be I'm in love? It is love
Didn't want to cut the music short too soon there. So working on this project allowed us to not only have a simulated client, a soft brief, a public output, educational workshops around the theme, but it allows us to talk about issues that are not normally dealt with on a craft-based animation course. So normally we're talking about, issues to do with how you make animation. But working on this project and others like it has allowed us to tackle really big issues, such as colonialism. And this is a film a student made for the English National Opera in response to their Purcell opera, The Indian Queen. So my second years are currently working on another project for the English National Opera. We'll be having a screening in January, so if anybody's interested, come and give me your email and I'll make sure you're invited. We've also, I was lucky enough to be a curatorial team member of the UK Pavilion for the Shenzhen Architecture Biennale, and my students made films actually explaining architectural theory, very complex architectural theory, using animation and graphics and simple characters and fun scenarios. They were able to bring these complicated ideas to life. Our first years are currently working with the Old Operating Theatre Museum, which is very near here in London Bridge. And it's been a hospital for over 1,000 years, and they have a fantastic collection of medical equipment and all kind of things to do with medical history. So we did a project that attempted to bring the people back, because the space was once a hospital. It once had patients in it. It once had staff in it. But now all it has is objects in glass cases. So our brief was to bring the people back. We've got an exhibition on there at the moment, so it's called The Foul and the Fair, and this is our first year students have created 1-minute films in response to the space, celebrating 1,000 years of St. Thomas's, and I'll just show you one of these to finish off. So that was based on a true story. The students did lots of archival research with the education manager. They went into Southwark local history. They found out a lot of information. And these were skills that animation students wouldn't normally use. So in conclusion, working with the heritage sector, working with museums, archives, cultural associations, we're able to give our students professional practice, but we're able to give them much more than that. We've been able to tackle really big issues like prostitution, like syphilis, like colonialism, gender dysmorphia. With animation students, we wouldn't normally have a space in the curriculum to discuss issues like this. And finally, we're able to really give something back to the institutions we work with because we're able to reinterpret their collections for a different sort of audience and bring them up to date and bring more people in. So thank you very much. That's me.